Hey everybody, welcome to Find Your Fit with Deanna. I'm Deanna, and today I want to share a little bit about balance training. So I've been in the fitness field for a very long time, nearly 30 years now somehow, and one of the things that we have always known is that we need to make sure we challenge and train our balance regularly to yes, to train our core and posture, but also, and so importantly, to prevent falls. So one of the things I find though, when we talk about balance training, is that it tends to be a bit general for folks that are in the middle of their balance training journey and excludes people that are maybe brand new that feel very wobbly and unsafe in their training. And it can exclude folks that are maybe a little less challenged by some of just the traditional 1-foot stance work. So looking at each end of that balance spectrum, if you're somebody that's really new to balance training, that is, and you feel like, and I'll say it's sort of the middle ground of balance training, what I often see is work on 1 foot, right? So we are maybe standing straight, or we're maybe bringing our arms up, or we're adding movement. And if you think, okay, like that could be somewhere I could begin, but I feel really scared. I don't feel like I'd be safe there. I know that that's not yet right for me. And so one of the regressions, so regression is not a bad word, it means to take whatever it is you're doing and just take a step back, right? Bring the intensity down a little bit to find the right fit. And then opposite, of course, is the progression, just to make it harder. And so it is something that this traditional balance training, the 1 foot, what we might do with that is, this is 1 foot, I call this 1.5 feet because I've got my front foot resting. It doesn't have a lot of my weight on it, but it does give me a little kickstand or an anchor point. And so I want you to think about that. Does that regression feel right for you? If not, let's take back. Where's your starting point? Where do you feel like you can stand safely without any wiggle, right? And when I say wiggle, that's the sort of, ooh, ooh, right? That I've started to lose my balance and I've needed to correct. I've needed to right myself. That's actually what we need in balance training. We need that sort of feeling of, whoop, oh, to get back, right? Otherwise, it's not balance training, which we're going to talk about the other end of the spectrum in a minute. So I want you to think, where do you feel, like where's the starting point? Where are you anchored? And if you think, you know what, standing up feels wiggly, then sit down. Nothing wrong with that. What we will look at is what are the variables you can adjust. And so those are starting off with points of contact. So what that means is, like right now, for example, my bottom is a point of contact on the chair and I have 2 feet on the floor as points of contact. So folks, give this a try. If you're not so sure, and again, you've checked with your healthcare provider to make sure that they've said, yes, you can go ahead and try some of this balance training. You could start with, my hands are actually on the chair, I'm holding on gently to the seat, and I'm gonna lose a point of contact, or take away a point of contact. Let yourself move into that lifted position, and then rest. Other options, right now, which I know you cannot see, I have my back away from the back of the chair. There's some space between me and the chair. I could actually increase my contact. I'm leaning on the back of the chair. And I have more points of contact with my hands, right? There are so many options for you to find where is your starting point, and then how do we move from there? Too often in many components of fitness, but especially balance, the starting point that's introduced feels really unsafe. It's too much too soon, and we know that's when we get injured. And not only that, it doesn't build our confidence in our ability to do that thing. So we kind of think, no, I just feel scared. I feel like I'm going to fall. Well, why would we be motivated to do that if we feel scared, right? It makes good sense. We're like, I don't want to do that. That feels really scary. So how can we support you to find the starting point that's right? So I am now quite connected with the floor, of course, with my feet and my chair. My bottom is connected. My back is connected. My hands are connected. This is a pretty anchored position. And then start to say, well, how can I take away a point of contact to find the fit for me? Remember, what you're aiming for is to feel a little bit of wiggle that little bit of unsteadiness that's going to require the training. If we just feel super comfortable, it's kind of a metaphor for life, right? If we feel super comfortable, there's no need for growth. We're like, no, I'm just gonna stay here. I don't actually have to get stronger at anything, right? There's no improvement in our position. And now whether that's physical or whatever the case is, right? So I want you to think about, I'm really well connected. So what will I do first? I don't know. What do you feel comfortable with? Maybe pull your back away from the chair. And so sitting really tall. Okay, how do I feel here? Oh, maybe there's a little more core engaged. Maybe I don't notice any difference. So maybe I need to take a foot away from the floor. I just lifted one foot up. Oh, wait a minute, now I start to feel. Remember, your balance training is often connected with the core engagement, right? That's one of the things that responds to hold us steady when we lift a foot, for example, okay? And so once we are, we've played around with that seated work, and that's no longer challenging for you. The other things that you can adjust is how long you hold that position, the lifted foot, for example, right? So other options within that. So if seated is not the right start, if that feels like it's just not challenging enough for you, then bring yourself to standing, right? Same idea. What are your points of contact? 1, 2, 3, 4. Tall, good posture. Start to take away point of contact. 1 or 1. It doesn't have to be 2 feet or 1 foot. It could be 1 and a, I know that's not quite half of a foot, but don't come at me for my math. So 1 foot with a kickstand, right? And then hold. How long can we hold? 5 seconds, 10 seconds, etc., right? Then lift. Some of the other things to try, not only, often when we do balance work, we lift to the front and hold. What about lifting the leg to the back? Okay, so there's other options for you to challenge yourself. So I want you to find, remember, if you're new to balance training, if you're feeling quite unsteady, I want you to find where you feel really well anchored. Because here, we go about it the wrong way sometimes, right? We're like, okay, do you feel unbalanced? And you're like, oh my goodness, I feel so unbalanced, I feel scared. I want you to go the other way. Start with finding, I feel really well anchored, I'm strong, I'm safe, I'm steady, and to take away point of contact from there, for example, right? And then you can move forward, training your body and your brain to trust that position. And then what about folks at the other end of the spectrum that you're like, oh, ho-hum, this is really easy, I've been training that for a while, I can stand on 1 foot for a minute, and I don't have any of that, the wiggle you just saw, right? This stable position is actually not balance training for somebody that can hold that position, okay? What can you do? I want you to add, this is called static balance, meaning you're held, sort of like static cling you get in your clothes in the winter when things stick together. Static, stuck, stationary. And so what can we do? Start to make it dynamic, make it moving. Step, hold. Step, hold. Step, hold. Okay? Forward to back, what we call plane of motion. That, it's called the sagittal plane of motion. That forward to back movement is what we function in regularly. So we are most comfortable in that movement. So if that's pretty easy peasy, get out of the sagittal plane, go in the what we call frontal plane, go sideways, step, lift, step, lift. If that's not quite right, step, lift, cross. Excuse me, step, lift, cross, right? If that is not quite right, we can do this all day long, but just giving you some ideas of how to get out or get past that sort of static position that might, if you're feeling a little bit bored with it, it's not going to be something that's really enjoyable. It's not going to be something that motivates you. So I want you to find something that's challenging. What about adding a little bit of explosion? Whoa! Not like that. Ready? Yeah, as you can see, there's my fit. That's my starting point, right? Because I'm all wiggly. That's a good balance for me to start. What about side? Yes. Side. Yes. Okay? So I really want you to think about what are those factors you can change and find the fit. Yes, that's the name of the podcast, but it is also something that I believe strongly that it's not, there's nothing wrong with people. There's nothing wrong with our ability to do a workout. It's the actual workout that has to change. So it's not us, it's not you, it's the workout. We want to work to find your fit where you need to begin to then allow you to progress and progress safely. Of course, we want and we need to be injury-free, but progress safely at a pace that works really well for you. As always, cheering you on. And questions, comments, concerns, email me, Deanna at deannalangfordcoaching.com, and I will see you back soon. Cheering you on to keep moving.